The first mistake costs you strokes before you even pull the club out of your bag. In 2019, My Golf Spy ran a blind test of 37 iron sets and found that 68% of senior golfers were playing shafts that were simply wrong for their current swing speed. Not marginally off. Wrong by an entire flex category, sometimes two. If you bought your irons when you were in your 40s and are still swinging them in your 60s, your body has changed, but your equipment has not. The National Golf Foundation reports that after age 55, the average golfer loses approximately 5 miles per hour of swing speed per decade. That single club you used to hit 150 yards now flies maybe 135. Here's what the evidence shows. The shaft flex you were fit for 15 years ago is now a full step too stiff. A regular flex shaft requires a certain load to activate its kick point. When your swing speed drops below that threshold, the shaft never fully unloads into the ball. You lose launch angle, you lose carry distance, and you start compensating with your hands. That compensation is where the first hidden cost appears. You begin swinging harder, pulling the handle, coming over the top. The result is a glancing blow that spins sideways instead of forward. A club that should deliver a high, soft landing shot around the green instead produces a low runner that skids 30 feet past the pin. The fix is not a new swing. The fix is matching shaft flex to your actual current speed. A senior flex shaft, properly weighted, will restore the launch window you lost. But most golfers never check because they assume the club they bought was the club they needed. Remember that quiet pinch when you realize the hope wore off after the first swing? Drop a comment right now if you have ever stood over a wedge shot wondering why the ball came out flat. That is the first layer. The second layer is total weight. The second iron weight mistake has nothing to do with shaft flex and everything to do with what is inside the shaft itself. Counterbalancing, tip weights, and swing weight adjustments are standard practice in club fitting, but most off-the-rack senior irons arrive with a default swing weight that was designed for a 28-year-old tour player. Swing weight is a measurement of how heavy the club head feels during the swing. A standard D2 swing weight works well for a strong, fast swinger because the head loads against the shaft and produces a crisp, percussive strike. For a senior golfer with reduced grip strength and slower tempo, D2 feels like swinging a sledgehammer on a fishing pole. True Temper published internal data showing that reducing swing weight by 3 points, from D2 to C9, increased face control consistency by 11% in a sample of golfers aged 60 to 72. 11% fewer mishits just from changing how heavy the head feels. The mechanism is simple. When the head feels too heavy, the body instinctively slows the transition and opens the face at impact. You come through late, the toe drags, and the ball leaks right. You compensate by rolling your wrists early, which closes the face and sends the ball left. The result is a two-way miss that makes around the green unplayable. Here is the uncomfortable truth that ties all of this together. You did not lose your short game. Your short game is exactly as precise as it was 10 years ago. But your equipment is fighting your body at the worst possible moment, inside 60 yards where launch window and spin consistency matter most. You are playing a $100 scramble and your club is sabotaging you before you finish the backswing. Tell me in the comments which one surprised you most so far. There are two more mistakes, and the third one is the most destructive because it is invisible. The third iron weight mistake is not a manufacturing defect. It is a silent accumulation inside the grip itself. Most grips are sold by size, but the dead weight of a grip affects how the club rotates through the ball. A standard 50-gram grip versus a mid-size 65-gram grip changes the effective swing weight by nearly 2 points. That is enough to shift your release timing without you ever feeling it. Senior golfers are often recommended mid-size or jumbo grips because of arthritis or reduced hand strength. That is correct for comfort, but the added grip weight shifts the balance point of the club toward the hands, making the head feel lighter. A lighter-feeling head encourages a faster, more aggressive release. The club arrives early, the face closes, and you hit a pull draw that rolls through the green. Golf Pride published a fitting note in 2021 showing that changing from a standard to a mid-size grip reduced launch consistency on 60-yard pitches by 14% in players over 60. The grip you chose for comfort threw off the timing that your body had practiced for years. The fix is counterintuitive. If you need a larger grip, request a lighter core material or a reduced weight model. Several manufacturers now make a mid-size grip that weighs the same as a standard, the same swing weight, the same timing. But nobody tells you to ask for that at the pro shop. You remember that quiet pinch when you realize the hope wore off after the first swing. That moment, the ball skidding past the pin on a low burner was not a skill failure. It was a weight failure in your hands. The fourth and final mistake is the one that makes all the others worse simultaneously. It is not a physical weight change, but a distribution change that happens as the club ages. When you play regularly, the sole of the iron wears thin. The leading edge gets lower relative to the trailing edge. That changes how the club interacts with the turf and the bounce angle. A wedge with worn sole will dig rather than glide through the turf, especially on tight lies around the green. That digging creates a heavy impact feel even if the swing weight is correct. You respond by lifting your hands, thinning the ball, and watching it sail over the green. You blame your technique. The club was the original problem. The 4 weight mistakes share one root cause. Nobody told you that equipment ages differently for a body that also ages. The shaft flex, the swing weight, the grip mass, and the sole geometry all drift over time. A 10-year-old iron set is not the same set you bought. It is heavier, stiffer, and sharper in ways that hurt your scoring most where scoring matters. If this hit, comment the word contact right now. You already know something is off in your short game. The evidence says the club is the liar. You know that empty feeling when you walk off the green, having hit 10 chips and only 2 of them finished inside the circle you aimed at. Most golfers carry a quiet assumption that their hands have lost the touch that used to feel so effortless. The touch is still there. The thing transmitting it has changed its density, its balance, and its angle, piece by piece, season after season. The solution does not require a full bag replacement. One wedge, rebuilt correctly with a senior flex shaft, a lighter swing weight, a reduced mass grip, and a fresh sole grind, will cost less than a stress-free Sunday afternoon tea time. One club can restore the feedback loop your body still remembers. Your hands will feel the head load correctly again, and the ball will leave the face with the window you expected. There is nothing wrong with your swing. There was never anything wrong with your swing. The system convinced you that aging meant losing skill, but the truth is quieter and colder. The club changed. You stayed the same. And now you know exactly which 4 pieces were stacked against you the entire time. If this stopped you, take the wedge you use most around the green to a fitter this week. Ask them to check the shaft flex, the swing weight, the grip weight, and the sole wear. 4 measurements, 1 club. Drop your answer below. Tell me which one of these 4 you will check first. You walk onto the practice green and set down 3 balls at the same spot, the same distance from the hole. Your body remembers the motion. Your hands know the release.
6 inches, it flies exactly
the ball
as
starts
your
online,
younger self
and the
intended.
truth is that for 6 inches it flies exactly as your younger self intended. Then, without warning, it skips, skids, and dies 2 feet short. That small inconsistency is the whole story compressed into 12 feet of turf. The shaft unloaded late. The swing weight pulled the face open. The grip mass delayed the release by 10 milliseconds. The worn sole dug instead of glided. 4 errors that you never authorized, each one silently rewriting the shot you thought you owned. You do not need to memorize swing thoughts or rebuild your technique. The repair is mechanical, not mystical. One afternoon, with a club builder who understands that a 60-year-old swing in a 30-year-old club is a contradiction that physics cannot resolve. The weight must match the body that holds it, not the body the marketing department assumed you still had. Here is the cold comfort that the evidence leaves you with. The data from the National Golf Foundation. the independent shaft tests from My Golf Spy, the fitting notes from True Temper and Golf Pride, all of them confirm that you were never the problem. The shaft flex, the swing weight, the grip weight, the sole wear were the problem, and each one is fixable. You came to the short game expecting to find a fault in your hands. What you found instead was a set of equipment choices made years ago for a swing that no longer exists. The confidence you lost was never about skill. It was about weight, balance, and a quiet wear that happened while you were playing the game you love. 1 club, 4 measurements. The only thing that changed was what you did not know. Now you do. And that knowledge costs nothing and changes everything. Your iron set, the one you trusted for a decade, was never built to keep pace with a body that was always moving through time. The shaft, the weight, the grip, the sole, each drifted in its own direction, and you were left holding a bag full of clubs that no longer spoke the same language as your swing. The question that matters now is not what you lost, but what you are willing to restore. 1 club, 8 millimeters of sole grind, 3 swing weight points, 1 grip change, and a shaft that matches the speed you actually own. That is the entire repair. That is the difference between hoping for a good chip and knowing the ball will stop where you look.